Good morning, President Korbalak, Vice President Hummer, members of the Board of Education, elected officials, colleagues, students, parents, and county residents. A budget message, for obvious reasons, contains plenty of facts and figures about the people and programs of a given agency or organization. This message is no different, but first I want to talk about another type of message, one delivered in 4 simple letters. H-O-P-E. Hope. Hope is indeed a very powerful message. It's one that speaks very loudly to and about our children, who are the very reason we wake up every day and do what we do. Hope, in fact, is exactly the message that we, as staff, as parents, and as government and community partners, must instill and enhance in every one of our more than 81,000 students every day. Without hope, the achievement of true potential for any child is not just difficult, it is nearly impossible. Hope, to be clear, is not wishing for some magical result. Hope is, at its core, our children not only seeing themselves as successful adults, but believing in their abilities and seizing their opportunities to get to those places. Our children, ladies and gentlemen, must expect that they can be awesome. One of educational activist Diane Ravitch's books contains a thought that I believe holds very true for us as we carry out our mission every day. She wrote, "The most durable way to improve schools is to improve the lives of children, families, and communities." In short, we have to give our children, every one of them, hope. We have to help them not just understand, but believe. Believe in themselves, believe in each other, believe in the adults around them, and most importantly, believe that their potential has no boundaries. A budget, ladies and gentlemen, isn't a document, it is an investment in the hopes of our children, and I assure you, there is great hope inside each one of our children. You have seen it in your visits to schools, and I see it every day. Our children hope to learn rounding, hope to engage and expand their music skills, and hope to engage in more STEM lessons. Ask them, and they'll tell you that they hope to grow up to be a soccer player, an artist, a pharmacist, an engineer, a chef, a computer scientist, a teacher, or a plumber. And if you really question our students, you will almost certainly get to their most sincere hope. They hope to make their family proud. Hope, like potential, is both limitless and innate. Artificial constraints, biases, and arbitrary judgments are not things possessed by children at birth. They are walls imparted by a society that too often oppresses and demeans people instead of focusing on curbing poor decisions and actions. In far too many cases, these walls subtly predetermine how far a child can go or the heights to which they can soar. I submit to you that it is our duty, all of us, to tear down those walls before they become cemented, faulty foundations upon which the futures of our children are built. We must collectively embrace our children and, to coin a phrase used by community members who have greeted and encouraged students outside Annapolis High School over the last few weeks, let them know we have their backs. We must, wherever possible, bring parents into our schools and put programs into place that meet them where they are and enable them to better support their children. That is exactly the idea behind the Hispanic Moms Club at Tyler Heights Elementary School, which has been meeting for the last 3 years. Led by the school's bilingual facilitator and school counselor, the group discusses topics such as homework help and communication skills. It also provides Hispanic mothers with the opportunity to build relationships with each other and expand their network of support. Last year, it received the John Nelson Family Engagement Award from the Maryland English Language Learner Family Involvement Network, and this year it has been used as the model for programs at 5 more schools in the county. Our singular goal to elevate all students and eliminate all gaps isn't some catchy phrase. It is and must be the underpinning of everything we do. It must be present in every employee we hire and every program we implement. Our children, all of them, deserve that. They deserve people like Alvin Talley, the longtime and beloved chief custodian at Bodkin Elementary School. Mr. Talley's weekly hip hip hooray encouragement to scores of students at the school's Good Citizen celebration reinforces their belief in themselves not only while they are in classes at Bodkin, but after they've moved on to middle school, high school, and beyond. Mr. Talley's spirit embodies the school system's growth mindset model and District 203 initiative, through which schools cultivate the reality that every single classroom and office is a place where children can feel comfortable, supported, and encouraged. That encouragement is accompanied by a philosophy that the mastery of a piece of content is not always instantaneous endeavor. Rather, it is a student's relentless pursuit of that mastery, the not yet instead of the I can't mentality, reinforced by our incredible teachers, counselors, administrators, and other school staff, that turns adversity into achievement. Our intentional focus on early literacy exemplifies this approach perfectly. Across our county, 47% of second graders who tested below grade level, sometimes multiple levels, in reading last fall had reached or exceeded grade level by the spring. That is a testament not only to our incredible reading and classroom teachers, but to every person in our system who interacts with students on a regular basis. As a result of their efforts, nearly 1,000 more third graders began this school year at or above grade level in reading and were focused on advancing instead of catching up, not just in that subject, but others as well. If we as a school system are ever to eliminate all our gaps, one class at a time, that is how we must do it. One student at a time, one class at a time, one grade at a time, one school at a time, and one community at a time. That community spirit is exemplified in the Baltimore Coast Guard Command's Partnership in Education program, in which more than 100 Coast Guard personnel have served as mentors in 12 county schools over the last several years. This program, and ones like it, are crucial additions to the incredible work our school-based staffs do with students every day. In addition to academic support, these programs provide students with more adult role models and alternative places to turn to for advice and discussion. As we continue to focus on the academic needs of our students, we must pay increasing attention to their social and emotional wellness. While there are those that may argue that such efforts are not for a school system to undertake, the simple fact is this: our students are coming to our classrooms with more diverse and, in some cases, more intense needs than ever before. Their lives away from the school setting are, in many cases, difficult and stressful, to say the least. They are exposed to things in their first few years that many adults don't encounter in their first several decades, and the ability to provide both coping skills and stability in the home lives of students is challenging. So more and more, students and their families are turning to our schools for help. We could adopt the not our job philosophy, but the failure to at least help address those needs would only compound the difficult task our educators face every day. As a society, it's easy for us to rally around, for example, efforts to stamp out hunger. There are near universal understanding about and compassion for a child who worries about where his or her next meal is coming from and can't fully focus on schoolwork. There are other situations, however, for which our need to support students garners far less understanding and support. We have students who are homeless or whose home lives are unsettled. Students who witness violence and drug activity on a regular basis, and students whose family situations provide little emotional or academic support. We have students whose native language is not English, students with sexual orientation and gender identity issues, and students who silently attempt to cope as best they can with anxiety or depression. Our obligation is never to place value judgments on the situations children encounter on their way to our schoolhouse doors. Rather, it is to do everything we possibly can to support them, to give them hope, if you will, once they get to us, and very simply, to be nice. All must mean all, and we must firmly, very firmly, reject any notion that would dictate otherwise. As Severna Park resident Betsy Gonzalez wrote in an email to me recently, it is comforting to know that our schools are providing the students with a safe, supportive, and inclusive environment. There is so much more to an education beyond Common Core and language arts. My husband was born in Mexico, and both our children are adopted from Mexican birth parents, so we gladly welcome the conversation in the classroom about diversity and appreciation of the acceptance of those with differing views. We must also, wherever possible, do what we can to help students make positive choices that best suit their career aspirations. That's one of the main factors in our proposal now before this board to eliminate the all too often unhealthy course selections high school students make in the quest to rank first in their class by replacing the valedictorian and salutatorian system with a Latin honors system. This system rewards students for success while simultaneously encouraging them to seek expanded academic and extracurricular paths. Our efforts to support the academic, social, and emotional needs of our students must be met with equal efforts to support our hardworking and dedicated employees. The work we do on behalf of our children is done efficiently, very efficiently. When it comes to the ratio of non-instructional staff to students, for example, we are the third leanest school system in the state of Maryland. That lean administrative overhead ratio is a result of focusing our funding on people who have contact with students every day. I repeat to everyone listening today what I said a year ago. My colleagues are the backbone of our success. We must, to the very best of our ability, advocate for their needs. Our advocacy, however, must be tempered with fiscal reality. The $1.16 billion operating budget that I am proposing to this board today represents a 3.8% increase from our fiscal year 2017 budget. That increase includes $20.5 million allocated to our healthcare fund and $15.6 million targeted for employee compensation increases. The level of compensation funding in this request is equivalent to a full step increases for all eligible employees, as well as increases for all employees not otherwise eligible for steps. The exact nature of any increases for employees and bargaining units will be determined through the negotiations processes with those entities. As I said, our advocacy must be practical and must be done with an awareness of the fiscal realities that exist in our state and county. We must recognize the efforts of county government, particularly in the last 2 years, to assist in meeting our needs as best it can. A year ago, for example, County Executive Steve Shue worked with us to secure approval from the Maryland State Department of Education to allocate $10 million outside of the maintenance of effort provisions to assist with serious structural issues in our healthcare fund. As part of that allocation, which was ultimately approved by the County Council and included in our current year budget, we assured MSDE that we would undertake substantive revisions to our healthcare plan. Those discussions must include a collaborative approach from all of our bargaining units to identify more than $20 million in cost avoidances or revenue enhancements to support healthcare costs if we are to be successful in returning that fund to solid footing and avoiding more drastic actions such as furloughs or reductions in force. We are continuing to examine all of our budget line items and, wherever possible, directing resources to the healthcare fund to help ensure its solvency. While the healthcare plans offered to our employees are rarely discussed publicly, they are an important and integral part of compensation packages. Keeping our healthcare fund on sound footing affords our employees not only access to excellent medical services, but an array of preventative care options to help them maintain a high quality of life. We also must continue to focus on our instructional needs, and my request includes $6.8 million to open the Monarch Academy Annapolis Public Contract School in September. Monarch will ease overcrowding in Annapolis schools and provide a program of choice that does not currently exist for elementary students in the Annapolis cluster. It will also provide a pathway to our International Baccalaureate Middle Years program at Annapolis Middle School and our Performing and Visual Arts program at Bates Middle School. This has been a logistically difficult road to navigate, and I want to thank County Executive Hsu, the Children's Guild, and developer Steve Shaw for their continued commitment and tireless efforts to clear the obstacles that presented themselves in this process. I spoke earlier about the needs to address increasing issues related to social and emotional wellness of our students. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not an issue isolated to our county, and it is far more than a school issue. It is a public health issue, and we must do our part to address it. This request contains $3.3 million for 35.4 positions to assist in achieving this goal. Those positions include 23 teachers and aides for special education students, 5 assistant principals for elementary schools, allowing counselors and reading specialists to concentrate on their areas of expertise instead of administrative functions, 3 school psychologists, 1 social worker, and 3.4 counselors to provide full-time counselors at 3 additional elementary schools and 1 early education center. Let's be clear. Better addressing the needs of our children in this way is not lowering expectations for our students. Rather, it is raising the ability of children to appropriately cope with the many stressors in their lives and react accordingly. It is also clearly an emotional benefit to our great teachers who can focus more on instruction with fewer distractions and less stress. My request also includes $2.5 million for an additional 33 classroom teachers to address enrollment increases and $762,000 for 10 teachers to continue to reduce class sizes. I've also included $216,000 for 4 community ambassadors to serve as additional supports and resources and to provide critical links between schools and communities they serve. We have refined these positions to formalize the structure and ensure that the community ambassadors are present both in schools and communities so that they can help forge strong bonds for our students. The number of English language learners our school system is educating continues to surge, with 570 more students this year than a year ago. That's a 14% increase, and we simply have to add staff to continue to try to meet the needs of these students and their families. My request includes $763,000 for 10 English language acquisition classroom teachers and $125,000 for 2 additional bilingual facilitators to undertake the critical work of collaborating with families of these students. We must also continue to enhance the opportunities we offer our students, and this request contains $1.4 million to do exactly that. Approximately $1 million is allocated to funding 10.5 positions to expand the Triple E program to the 7 elementary schools in the Old Mill cluster. Old Mill will be the 6th cluster in our system with Triple E, which not only provides students with an additional subject of study, but affords elementary school teachers with crucial additional planning time. Another $134,000 is allocated for 1.5 positions to address enrollment growth at existing Triple E schools, and $152,000 will fund 2 positions to expand the Central Middle School STEM program to the 8th grade. For our students to excel in all the ways we envision, we need to continue to upgrade, and update the environments in which they learn. In the next month or so, 2 of the schools we have long worked on, a Severna Park High and a modernized Benfield Elementary, will be complete. Funding of the $238.6 million capital budget request that I present to you today will allow us to continue to improve the instructional settings for thousands more students. Included in my request is more than $176 million for construction and/or design funding at Manorview, High Point, George Cromwell, Jessup, Arnold, Edgewater, Tyler Heights, and Richard Henry Lee Elementary Schools, as well as for the new Crofton Area High School. In addition, this request includes $7.5 million for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten additions at Park and Shadyside Elementaries, and $1.1 million to renovate the Carrie Whedon Science Center building in Galesville as we prepare to open an early education center there. I've also included $7 million for open space enclosures at Brockbridge and Shadyside Elementary Schools, and $6 million for classroom additions at Marley and Solly Elementary Schools. In both the operating and capital budgets, I truly would have liked to do more. However, as I said earlier, we must develop responsible budget requests that fund core priorities while recognizing the fiscal realities in which we operate. More than $51.7 million in requests from department heads, every penny of them worthwhile and justified, had to be eliminated as we crafted this budget. This board, County Executive Shue, and the County Council will have some difficult decisions to make between now and June, when our final budget for the coming year is adopted. As those decisions are deliberated and discussed, we must keep foremost in our minds the images of the children who occupy the most important seats in our school system, those in the classroom. I leave you with the thought espoused 5 centuries ago by the master artist Michelangelo. Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. Ladies and gentlemen, across our county every day, in more ways than you and I could ever count, we are discovering the great masterpieces that exist in our children. To be content, however, with simple discovery would be to fail our children. Instead, we must unceasingly believe in the greatness of every child and relentlessly endeavor to sculpt, refine, enhance, and empower the hope in all of our children that will help them reach their full potential. I thank you for allowing me to be part of this endeavor.